All right, and before I go to bed, I should do one other kind of review, and this one is actually about a movie, a one-day event that Fathom Events was doing. I saw it at the Marcus Theater, and that is Betty White, A Celebration. It was to come out for her 100th birthday. Fortunately, she did pass away right at the end of 2021, which as of today is only a couple days ago, but she didn't quite make it to her 100th birthday. Of course, I've heard some logic out there that because of the leap years, that for how many leap years she lived through, if you don't count those days, technically she did make it to 100. I'll say that. I think she made it to 100. So unfortunately, sadly passed away, but she lived a long life, and the documentary was still being released. They had planned it a while back, so it was good to finally see it and just now celebrate her life as she has passed away. So there's a little bit more of a meaning to it now. So what did I think of it? Well, a, a few problems, actually, surprisingly. Unfortunately, I did enjoy it. I had a good time watching it, and I learned some stuff about Betty White that I never knew about previously, and I thought it paid tribute to her, and a lot of the actors that they interviewed did that as well. Um, a lot of the stuff that I heard was that I had never known about her before was basically about stuff from the early days of television that happened so long ago. Some of the surviving footage even is barely existent. So that stuff was cool. But a lot of the more recent stuff I did know about. Even the way the documentary set up, it's a little odd because it basically starts out with talking about her hosting SNL, and then they go backwards, and then they kind of hop back and forth. But they don't do it too many times where it becomes jarring or anything. But it is a bit odd that that's the way the documentary starts out, and then it goes into the past. There's some interviews from Betty White, including some pretty recent stuff, so that was interesting to watch. But I didn't know until after watching it that a lot of this was actually done for a PBS special that was done in 2018. There were interviews from Carl Reiner and Alex Trebek, and I figured, well, they probably did these interviews a couple years ago, a couple months ago, because it sounds like they've been planning this special for quite a while. But no, it sounds like they were actually specifically filmed for a PBS special that was done in 2018, I believe. So really, this is just a retheme of that special with a few new interviews, which maybe makes sense. There are different sets of interviews that Betty White did that are like done in three different rooms. And so it was a bit odd that what I basically was watching was an updated version of that documentary. I haven't seen that one, but again, I didn't really expect that. And for the price of these Fathom events, it's a little unfortunate that that isn't really told to you ahead of time. That PBS special is probably available on its website or in some other form. So a little disappointed in that. And again, honestly, I felt that the content wasn't as there wasn't as much to it as I was hoping for. We get an idea of Betty White's career, but as far as her personal life and such, it didn't go into it too much. Uh, it is cool to see some footage of Betty White very shortly before she passed away. And, you know, is a one of a kind woman, so that alone, it's like, that's why I wanted to see it. There's really going to be no one else like Betty White again. And it was cool to just see a reminiscent documentary about her life. I wouldn't call this the definitive documentary. There's definitely more that I felt they could have dug into, but for if you want to know about her career, her highlights of television, this is a good way to do it. In fact, I thought like some of the clips that they shared from some of her different stints in television were funny. They were very entertaining. But there was one specifically that they were talking about for a show that was titled Date with Angels, which the clip was not funny. It's a really rough clip too. Like there's obviously not a good transfer of this show anywhere. And for some reason, there was like a subtitle at the bottom of the screen that said, stick around to watch the full episode after the credits. And I was like, what is this referring to? after the credits of this episode? Are we watching the whole episode, or are they talking about something else? The subtitle really wasn't clear about what was going on, but basically they showed a lost episode of this television show at the end. This must have been like the episode that they had like the most rights to, or possibly it's in the public domain, because they showed the entire episode after the documentary was done. So a 22-minute episode aired after that, or roughly 22 minutes. It might have been a little longer. And the show is just, the episode wasn't funny. I guess it's cool that there's like, hey, look at that, a supposed lost episode of a TV show. But even Betty White said during the documentary, she wasn't like too into that television show. She wasn't very proud of that work. So it was a little odd that that was the episode of television that we're showing after. If anything, you should have been showing an episode of Golden Girls, right? I mean, you might as well have. I get that this is a lost episode of a TV show, but the reason it's lost is probably because it's not that good. So maybe you should have shown a Golden Girls episode. I don't know. Something from Hot in Cleveland. I don't know. But we will miss Betty White. This was a good way to express her career. I just felt that since there was so much planning going into it and that they knew the special was coming for quite a while, I still feel like there could have been a little more done for it. But I get it. It probably wasn't meant to be like such a big deal, but after she passed away, then it became an even bigger deal than just being a 100th birthday documentary special, if you can even call it a documentary. So hopefully in the future they can do something a little more special for Betty White, but overall this still works as a tribute.